There's 5 ways to fund a fix and flip and a couple bonus rounds if you stay to the end. Not all funding strategies are created equal, and 2 of the most talked about options almost always backfire. This guide breaks down 5 real structured ways to fund a fix and flip. We're talking hard money, gap funding, 0% credit card stacking, HELOCs, and business lines of credit as you start to establish yourself. Each is secured, each is structured, and each has a clear role in a smart capital stack. So we also take a hard look at why private money and so-called Gator lending fail investors at the worst possible moment, backing out of the deal, often coming to us freaking out with 3 days to go, and why the qualifications required to access them already unlock better options without the stacked fees or the uncertainty anyway. So what we're going to be looking at today, obviously your primary money, your business lines of credit you can utilize in deals if you've got a consistent revenue coming in. We'll look at rapid gap funding. We'll look at HELOCs and homes and investment properties and your card stacking as well to back it all up. So let's get in. Hard money. A hard money lender underwrites the deal itself, the property, the after repair value, and your exit plan. Not just your personal credit score. This distinction is critical for fix and flip investors who may not fit the mold of a conventional borrower, but have a strong deal in hand. So rates and costs. Fix and flip rates typically run 8 to 15% annually, with experienced borrowers often landing in the 9 to 12% range. So this is why it's good once you've got a good hard money lender, go with them over and over and over again, and you start to build up that reputation and get better rates. Now, origination points usually run 1 to 4%, commonly 1.5 to 3, and compare that to conventional investment property mortgages running roughly 6.5 to 7.5 in 2026. The trade-off for hard money's higher rate is speed and flexibility. The speed to close, hard money closes in 7 to 14 days, with some lenders approving in as few as 3 to 5 days. And then compare that against 30 to 60 days for a conventional loan. In a competitive market, that speed is often the difference between winning and losing a deal. So quick rate example at a glance, 8 to 15%, origination 1.5 to 3 points, close time 1 to 2 weeks. Now, rapid gap funding. So we're talking about term loan stacking here, unsecured loans all together, pulling multiple term loans from different lenders in a short window before each new application shows up on credit and affects the next approval. Stacked together, this generates a real lump sum of cash fast, often within a few days, without waiting on one lender to approve a single larger number. So this strategy is built specifically for investors who already have a hard money or DSCR loan lined up, but still face a shortfall on down payment, rehab costs, or closing costs and need that cash immediately. It fills the gap in the capital stack without requiring a single large approval or a long underwriting timeline. Now, key here is this can also be used for debt consolidation to free up cash flow, boost your FICO score, and prepare you for the next steps of the institutional capital stack as well. So multiple term loans pulled from different lenders in rapid succession before each new inquiry appears on credit and impacts the next approval. The result is a combined lump sum that no single lender would approve alone based on your DTI or personal income, and it is unsecured. So this is why it sits nicely behind the primary lender. It's not going to put a lien on the property or anything like that. So this is for investors who already have a primary loan, hard money or DSCR in place, but face a shortfall on the down payment, rehab, or closing costs. Gap funding bridges that shortfall without derailing the primary deal. And the key advantage here is speed. Capital is often accessed within a few days, making it one of the fastest ways to close a funding gap when a deal is already under contract and the clock is running. Often used when people come to me after private money's backed out last second. So this prepares us for 0% credit card stacking and HELOCs. So first, we look at card stacking. This strategy uses business credit to access 0% intro APR cards for rehab costs, materials, and contractor draws without paying interest during the introductory window. It works best for smaller rehabs or as one piece of a larger capital stack alongside hard money or gap funding. The key to maximizing this approach, request limit increases as cards are paid down to build a bigger new 0% stack before the current intro window expires. So disciplined execution turns this into a revolving interest-free rehab tool. And the key here is Obviously, this can go after gap funding because we're going to be stacking 4 to 5 business cards all at once. We don't want those inquiries on the report before gap funding. And also, gap funding, if we do need to lower your utilization or boost your FICO before we go for this, that's why it's the 1-2 move we use so often. Now we're looking at wave 4, which is your HELOCs. A HELOC borrows against equity already built in a primary residence or investment property. National average HELOC rates run roughly 7.4 to 8.5 as of this month, 2026. US homeowners are holding approximately 11 trillion in tappable home equity as of this year, and the average HELOC balance grew by 11% to over 50 grand in 2026, according to Experian. HELOCs are usually the cheapest money on this list because they're secured by real estate. The trade-off is putting your own property up as collateral, a meaningful risk that must be weighed against the rate advantage. So, quick overview of the state of the market with HELOCs. There's 11 trillion in tappable equity across US homeowners right now. It grew 11% this year, and 7.4% would be your average HELOC rate. The beautiful thing is it's not a lump sum. So you're paying interest, and typically they have interest-only periods for the first year where you're only paying interest on whatever you draw to get the deal done. Then it becomes like your own bank, this revolving line. You don't have to go and pay closing costs to access it again. So a 100K HELOC can be used over and over and over again and end up being worth 300 to 400K after you've done 4 deals with it. Now, business lines of credit. Way number 5 is your business line of credit. A business line of credit provides revolving access to capital, similar to the HELOC. Draw as rehab costs come up, pay interest only on what's drawn in many cases, and funds become available again once paid down. This flexibility makes it one of the most practical tools in a fix and flip capital stack if you do run a consistent business doing 20K plus revenue a month, particularly for investors managing multiple projects or unpredictable rehab timelines. So your online lenders often charge 20 to 60% or higher. The typical market range runs 8 to 22% APR depending on lender type, credit profile, and time in business. So a revolving structure, it's unlike a term loan. A line of credit resets as you pay it down, draw for materials, pay it back after closing. It's available again for the next deal without reapplying each time. And just speaking of those 0% cards, check out our tools page /tool-kit to see how you can actually use card limits to pay for these sorts of things as well. Materials, invoices from title companies, your closing costs and everything. Now, why private money fails you? Borrowing from a friend, family member, or someone from a meetup sounds simple. No underwriting, no paperwork, just a handshake. But that simplicity is exactly the problem. A private lender isn't a lender. They're a person, and people change their minds. Private money isn't a funding strategy. It's a bet on someone else's mood in the given week. That's how I see it anyway. The most common pattern seen firsthand. An investor has a deal under contract. A private lender was supposedly all set, and days before closing, that person gets cold feet, has their own cash flow issue, or simply stops answering the phone. The deal collapses, not because the numbers were wrong, but because the funder was never truly secured. So no underwriting without a formal process. There's no commitment. A verbal agreement has no legal weight when a private lender decides to walk 3 days before closing. There's no structure, no reliability in this case. So why Gator lending isn't the shortcut it's marketed as. So Gator lending is typically structured as an unsecured earnest money deposit or second position lending, sourced through a network of private individual funders, your doctors and dentists that just want to park their spare change in a randoms deal, with higher than average interest plus origination fees. So ask the real question, would you personally hand over money to fund a stranger's deal with zero collateral behind you if it goes sideways? That's exactly what Gator Lender is doing, and that fragility flows both ways. Now, based on real published gap funding programs like Levine Capital's, here is what creative gap funding actually requires to qualify. So they're going to want to underwrite you as a person. They don't care about the numbers on that deal as much as the capability of that person to get the deal done based on their last 2 years of track record, their credit score. They're really underwriting the operator as opposed to the deal. So 680 plus credit score just to be considered, first position loan required, combined loan capped at 70 to 75% ARV, and then they're going to want a cross collateral requirement above that threshold, typically at 150% minimum of whatever they've given you. Personal interview and a borrower bio review. So after all of this, that's why this money takes 2 months to even move. And at the end of that 2 months, you could get a no anyway. So the real cost of Gator lending. The fee structure on a real published Gator gap funding program stacks up fast. On a 50K gap, the all-in cost typically reaches 10K to 15K in fees and returns just to access the money. And it still typically takes 3 to 4 weeks to close. So you got your origination fee, your gap funder return, your connector fee, transaction coordinator, all these people running around in the Facebook groups taking a clip before any of it is actually utilized in a deal. Many of these programs explicitly require proof you could close without the gap funding to qualify in the first place, positioned as a tool for those who don't strictly need it. The takeaway is direct. If you have the 680 credit score and the real estate to cross-collateralize that creative gap funding requires, you already qualify for hard money term loan stacking, a HELOC, or a business line of credit. Moves way faster, way more predictable, and at the end of the day, there's no renegotiating on every bloody deal. It just depends how big you want to go. So the same underlying qualifications without the stack fees, the personal vetting, or the 3 to 4 week wait minimum. So same fragility as private money. An unsecured funder with no collateral behind them has every incentive to walk if a deal looks shaky. The pattern behind investors calling with 3 days to close because their Gator or private position backed out is just so common. Now, you got to ask yourself, would you put your money in a stranger's deal with no cross-collateralization? So what you're asking of people here is just, it's a bit of a tall order, and you got to understand that, yes, networking and building these relationships over time where they do trust you to get a deal done at great private money rates is good, but you're not going to get a random off the internet putting good money into your deal. So next steps, 5 real ways to fund a fix and flip: hard money, gap funding, 0% credit card stacking, HELOCs, and a business line of credit, all secured or unsecured against your credit profile, all structured, all with defined costs and timelines. Each has a role in the smart capital stack, and none of them depend on someone else's mood the week before closing. Now, where private money can work is where their investment's secured. So whether that's EMD or double closing funding, transactional funding with their funds are secured by escrow, or if it is going to be second position, they're not going to do second position. They either want first on a creative deal like seller finance, or they want to cross-collateralize a home or another investment property at minimum 150%. So these are the 5 tools we can rely on: hard money, gap funding, 0% card stacking, HELOCs, and business lines of credit. If you're ready to move on a deal and need to build your capital stack, the application process is super straightforward. All 5 strategies available to qualified borrowers, and the right combination depends on your deal size, timeline, and existing assets. Go apply at gapfunder.com/apply. And at the end of the day, here's the sources we pulled from the video. I'm Mick Wadley. Let's go bloody close something.